5, car number 7, Kim Jane in the Ford. From position number 635, all the way from Queensland, it's Greg Hansford from 7, 25, Terry Wyhoon. From 8, number 38, Mike Oliver. From 9:39, Mark Smedley, and rounding out the 10 today, Robert Burns in a Holden Commodore. A full field of starters, and of course Bradley Jones, who we all expected to be sitting on pole for the activities of Auscar here today for the Goodyear Series, is going to start very, very deep in the
order of the previous race.
Yes, there's Terry Sawyer in 05. As we said earlier, winner of the inaugural Auscar event here at Calder Park Thunderdome. Very rare. Who gets down on the inside and leads them away from Greg East, with Terry Sawyer very quickly up into third, and going around the outside is Greg Hansford. Jimmy Richards well positioned on the inside here, and also a good start from Bradley Jones very deep in the pack, and he's got to make up a lot of cars very early in this race in the Cooper Tools Commodore. Onto the back straight for the first time, it's Seaton, but Greg East looking for an inside pass, and look at Terry Sawyer coming. Following in the drafters, once again, Seaton closes it down to the low line, coming off turn 4, and the spectators really giving the drivers a huge send-off to the start in the first lap of this race. Here they come across the strike, and it's Seaton over East. The next one is Sawyer, followed by Hansford. Kim Jane the next. Jimmy Richards, in fact, has dropped back a spot, and Brad Jones already coming out of the pack as it's on for young and old up front, with Greg East on the inside and the Commodore. Seaton on the outside, not too much between them as they work the back straight.
Tremendous battle between the 351 V8 powered Ford on the outside, the XF driven by Mark Seaton, and Greg East on the inside. East well positioned at the moment as they come off turn 4 and back into the tri-oval section of the course. And Greg East with a car length in hand over Mark Seaton. Terry Sawyer in third, Greg Hansford next, then Kim Jane, followed by Jim Richards. And as you suggested, Mike, we've got a glimpse there of the Cooper Tools Commodore driven by Brad Jones, the series leader in the Goodyear Auscar series, and he's already up to 9th.
Down to some real serious stuff on the back straight. Greg East certainly a star performer here today, as Terry Sawyer on the inside now of Mark Seaton, making her presence felt down beneath the white line, and she will take over second as they come off turn 4, back down through the tri-oval, looking for Jimmy Richards to make a move. But Terry Sawyer up into second, with Greg Hansford on the outside of Seaton, and Kim Jane now starting to come into it.
Kim Jane was a little quiet in the earlier heat today, but many of the guys have had an opportunity, and I can see smoke coming out of the back of the Hansford car. But many of the guys have had an opportunity to make fine-tuning adjustments to their suspension and geometry settings after the first heat. The Jones car, for example, was very tail-happy. It feels that it's now much better, and obviously that's apparent on the racetrack, and I think you'll find that Kim Jane's been able to change something in the car and get some extra performance. In fact, I think the car's out of control on turn 4. I think we'll get a yellow out of that incident.
Yes, two cars tangling, and maybe one has probably popped a tyre.
Actually, that's just what Brad Jones would need to bunch the field up again. It's much easier for him to leapfrog a couple of positions, the series leader.
Not much work to do on that Commodore.
Richard Howe. Yes, he'll be headed back to the pits.
The other car involved, I think, was car number 22. That was Clyde Lawrence.
Pace car about ready to pull down to pit row, which means we'll be having the field come in to take the green for the restart with Greg East. Out there in front, Terry Sawyer sitting not too far off the bumper, and we go back to a green in the Auscar heat. Greg getting away smartly. Terry Sawyer, something's gone.
It looked like she missed a gear. In fact, I'd say that it's either jammed in a gear or it won't take the next gear, because she's just gone to the back of the field. In fact, she's pulled to the low line and it's going to go to the pits. Greg East, the leader, from Kim Jane, with Jim Richards in third, Mark Seaton in fourth, and Brad Jones now moving up to 5th.
Greg Hansford rejoined on the same lap, but he's back in position 27 now, so he's got a lot of work in front of him.
He certainly has. They come off turn number 4, back towards the tri-oval. Greg East, still your race leader. Kim Jane, though, getting on even terms with him, and Jimmy Richards bringing the field up. Seaton, the pole sitter, drops back to 4th spot. Brad Jones, of course, to 5th spot in the field as they go through turn number 2 and work their way onto the back straight. And Kim Jane, who started from position number 7, now up to 2nd, and starting to close on Greg East as they go down the back straight.
Terry Sawyer. Bit hard for us to eavesdrop from here, but it's a terminal problem because they're going to push it behind the pit wall.
Kim Jane really as low as he can get through that turn. They sweep out by the wall. This is where Greg East has been able to just out-drag Kim Jane heading down to the next turn. There's Brad Jones. not running that far behind the leaders in the Cooper Tools entry as we take our Dulux Auto Colour race cam as they work their way down into the bottom corner.
Brad's working pretty hard there as he came off turn 4. That was the turn 2, I should say. That was the one where he came unstuck yesterday in qualifying. He's chasing Mark Seaton, another driver from Albury, a pal of his, although at the moment he's got him in his gun sights. This is the man that they're all chasing, including Kim Jane, who's about 2 car lengths behind in the Ford Falcon.
And until you actually get out on this track, it's hard to appreciate how steep that banking is. It's 24 degrees, but it seems almost vertical when you drive around it.
And a little on the rough side too, Cam.
Yes.
This is not the smoothest spread of pavement. I think they had a lot of difficulty trying to lay it because of the banking. But you really don't gather that looking at the cars. It all looks so smooth, but the drivers really are fighting.
39 laps to go.
The driver in question will hang very, very low. Here's Jane right on the bumper of East. How much closer would you need to be? Sweeps out by the wall.
Oh, gee, Kim Jane was totally sideways. Then he tried to pull down as tight as he could to make the run on the inside, but it unsettled the car.
That actually cost him a couple of car lengths. Now he's closed it up again.
There's a real he's launched him, and Easter's going to lose this thing in a big way down the back straight. If he can keep it off the wall, it'll save him some money. I think he's done so. Terrific bit of driving from Greg East.
Great recovery from Greg East. And I don't think he'd be the happiest guy in the world. And he's not even going to catch a yellow flag as a result of that. He's got back up on the racing line again, the low line, but this stage Kim Jane has been able to power along and establish a fairly handsome lead. Let's have a look exactly what happened as we go to the replay. This Greg East. I would say that was a good nudge. Now that has set East off on a trail across the infield.
They're so hard to catch these things. Because of the way the wheels are set up geometrically, it's just not possible to recover them that easily. But he got the wheels straight here, kept it off the wall, regained his balance and was off and running once again. That was a smart bit of driving, and he's rejoined in position 14.
Once again, we take our Dulux Auto Colour race cam with Brad Jones running third on the racetrack. The car just ahead of him is, of course, Jimmy Richards. And they have a lot of lap traffic to contend with at this stage of the race.
He's getting close to Richards and getting an effect there from the slipstream off the back of the Falcon. He might be able to run down the inside here, and if he can do that, that'll squeeze him up to second. Richo has left room. Brad Jones through to second.
Neil, now that he has reached second, there's no one for him to draft off. How can he chase the leader? What can he do to narrow that gap?
Pray like crazy for a yellow flag.
That's absolutely right. The chances are that probably will happen.
History here.
Yes, history will show
that
there's always a couple of yellow flag laps when someone spins or whatever.
Jim Richards going back through the pack a bit. There goes Mark Seaton by on the inside. I don't know whether Jim may have a problem or he's seen the best of his tyres, but he's dropped back a couple of spots. Roaring into the pits with wheels locked up. There he is.
Well, he didn't get the yellow flag that he wanted.
Makes Brad Jones the race leader.
And really does tighten up the race. We go back to the race in a second as they move onto the back straight. And boy, have we got a race going here with Bradley Jones leading it in the Cooper Tools Commodore. Oh, you're not supposed to do that. That's an overrun.
Steve Harrington's the man to watch in this one.
Now, Harrington was the last start winner here at Calder Park Thunderdome. And he's trying to squeeze his way down on the inside of Jones as they go down to turn number 1. And Richard Blackney also in there, being somewhat of a spoiler. Blackney was the guy who I think gave him a thump in the tail.
Harrington on the outside here. He was down as far as 26th position, has now come up to challenge for the lead, and he might even be a millimetre in front at the moment, but Jones has got the pole line going into the next turn, and there's a lot of traffic to deal with. Harrington makes a lunge, and it was a good one. Change for the lead.
So you saw that on our Dulux Auto Colour race cam. Great move there from Steve Harrington as they come back down through the tri-oval. Bradley Jones sits in second spot. Richard Blackney is in third. Behind them, of course, is Terry Wyhoon and then Mark Seaton.
And Kim James rejoined the race, but very, very slowly. I wonder what the problem was there.
Not much time for him to catch up, actually. 15 laps left in this 55-lapper.
Once again, they dive into turn number 3. The traffic is getting quite congested as Jimmy Richards goes in the Bob Jane T-Marts Falcon. He's in for a change of rubber. The Mick Webb crew very quickly servicing that car to try and get it back without going down another lap.
Smart driving here from Jones, who tucks down the inside to try and use some traffic to his advantage. Peter McKay in the older SVO Motorsport Ford Falcon, previously driven by Jim Richards, gets out of the way. But Harrington's got away now. He's kicked away probably the best part of 7 or 8 car lengths down the back straight. And wasn't he quick into the first part of that third turn?
Certainly was.
Kim Jane still limping around on the low line and will come back to the pits again. So whatever his problem, it's terminal.
So Stephen Harrington, the leader from Brad Jones. The next is Richard Blackney, then Terry Wyhoon very close as well as they go down to turn 1.
It's been an important victory for Harrington, who was the last start winner at the Calder Thunderdome, not only in terms of prize money, but it helps to close up the point situation between he and Jones. But he needs Jones to be in nowhere land to have any effect in the series. And incidentally, Blackney has now got by Brad Jones, so Brad's back to 3rd, and will not be a happy little Vegemite.
The next one that he's got to keep an eye out for is Terry Wyhoon in car number 25, the Commodore.
That's a great name for a driver, isn't it?
Why not?
Why
why not?
Seemed like fun at the time.
So they all pass Jane going down the back straight. And he now tacks on right behind Stephen Harrington. He's been running around there slowly and now decides he's going to race the leader of the event.
Well, Blackney's 1.8 seconds down on Steve Harrington, but we've got, as you say, Kim Jane as the spoiler, shall we say. A couple of laps down at least. And Steve will probably be aware of this. I'm not sure whether he's carrying a radio in the car, but he may have seen Kim Jane pull off, so chances are he knows what's occurring.
Jim Richards is back on the track, but
Out there, he'd be really keen for you to fall off your bike pretty quickly.
I think it does prove that it's almost impossible to, even with the quickest pit stop in the business, to do one under a green flag lap and then try and make it up. You just can't do it. Get a yellow, it means everyone's in the same ballpark. They can all dive into the pits and then try and race again from the back of the field. Jimmy Richards and Kim Jane have discovered today, and even Terry Sawyer, you just cannot pit under the green. So race order still Stephen Harrington over Richard Blackney. Brad Jones, turn number 4. As we take Dulux Auto Colour race cam with Bradley Jones, 3rd on the racetrack.
And Terry Wyhoon, who's right behind him, is challenging.
bit of debris on the track. This is the yellow flag that the drivers were after.
Got one in the grass here.
Eddie Woods.
Well, Eddie's managed to get off the grass and down onto pit lane, but it was all a bit too late because the yellow did come out.
He managed to nail the wall coming out of turn 4, and he's down at turn 1 at the moment, so it was an accident. Oh, good start from Jones down the inside. Harrington on the outside. Terry Sawyer going in there as well, and Mark Seaton in the Ford Falcon.
Sensational start as they head down into turn number 1, where Brad Jones has taken over the lead, but Stephen Harrington will get close to him as they come off the turn. Moving on to the back straight, Jones out by the wall and will now try and cover his tracks because he'll have Harrington up on the inside of him. Yes, Harrington will have to go all the way around him and probably has enough horsepower to do it. They are side by side as they come off turn number 4, down towards the line with 4 laps to go in the Auscar race. Bradley Jones is your race leader in the Cooper Tools Commodore.
Moral of the story, never lend your engine.
Side by side, and Jones will go into this corner, but he ducks too low, and that will just give the advantage to Steve Harrington. Harrington goes by on the outside to take over the lead from Bradley Jones. Terry Wyhoon picks up 3rd place on the inside going down the back straight, and Mark Seaton, who's made a lunge once or twice at the leaders, has faded again to drop back to about 4th or 5th. Flag at the ready. Big crowd here standing to cheer home the man is going to put back-to-backs together, and that's Stephen Harrington, and it's checkered flag time for Harrington in the Commodore. Jones right on his bumper as they go across the line in 2nd. Terry Wyhoon, 4th spot to Mark Seaton, and 5th to Mal Rose, and we'll return to Calder